Hello, everyone. This is meteorologist Amy Metz, and there is some action in the tropics finally. So we have a low pressure between Mexico and Hawaii. I don't believe this will be affecting anybody on land. The invest just very well may affect people on land, definitely with rains and probably some floods will go over here. Not going to intensify strong, and I'll tell you why. Tropical storm Bill will be moving around the Atlantic. And eventually, some of that water will make its way back down where we have another invest where the waters are a little bit warmer. So, right now, we have a little bit cooler water around the Cape of Africa, where most of these bigger storms will originate later in the season, but not just yet. And before I get more into that invest, I wanted to mention look at what the Space Weather Prediction Center has. So I find it very interesting now, as a meteorologist studying space weather, that there have been solar storms. G1 minor indicates that there's a geomagnetic storm. We've had solar storms, some blasts of plasma that left the sun, interacted with Earth's magnetic field, and gave us some geomagnetic conditions. This can kind of mess with radio propagation. This can, in some cases, also produce some radiation that will increase our lightning. Maybe mess up the satellites a little bit, kind of give them some stalls or little overlaps where memory is gone. Can also interfere with our GPS systems. So we're not seeing any coronal mass ejections happening in this last coronagraph. Right now we're looking at images of the sun, and you can actually see from the satellites when these bursts of plasma leave. And now this coronal hole here, this black portion of the sun, is what's in what we call the Earth-facing portion now. This will be able to affect our storm systems, our lightning. It gives fast solar wind is what we call it. There's wind out there in space, and some of it comes from the sun, from these holes. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as I'm in my classes again today for space weather. And so what that means for these storms, I've noticed that every single time we have some of that activity, our storms increase pretty quickly. So the big killer here for a hurricane is going to be this wind shear. This is the first thing I want to talk about with the invest right here. We do have quite warm water off of the coast of Central America, especially near San Salvador, where this low pressure pretty much originated from. Was able to gain some strength, get convection from the warm water on the Pacific side, not on the Gulf side. Still pretty relatively cooler here. So that's one killer for intensification. And the other is just these red lines. So we have what's called wind shear, and that just means that from the sea floor, or maybe the land right here at the surface, going upward, the wind is changing direction and or it's changing speed as you go straight up in the air. And that will disorganize any kind of circulation. So as low pressures spin counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere, it won't be able to stack itself and become that very deep, strong circular motion when we have opposing winds. So this is a very good indication that we won't be having a huge storm, but we do want to be looking at some rain, looking at what the flood forecast might be, because this product right here, then, the derived product for convergence, can indicate that yes, there is still going to be something building. We do still have some storms out there brewing. They just won't have the chance to become a full-on hurricane. And whether or not this even gets a name, I'm not certain yet. And so we'll go ahead and keep an eye on that. But I'll play this out right now and give you, actually, I'll change this to the last 12 hours of satellite on the infrared. And what we're looking at is dark, deep reds, torrential downpours, very tall clouds, very convective, whereas the blues and greens are light rain and drizzle, some cases not even falling to the ground, and we have cloud cover where it is white. So you can tell that there's wind shear and even a little warping. As I was saying, some of these satellites can get a little jarred from some of those solar storms. What happens is a bunch of very high energy particles pass through and can actually interfere with the equipment. So I'm guessing that might actually be what happened there with that funny warping. But so here we go, moving very slow. I'm going to zoom way out to kind of give you an idea of troughs and ridges. One way I like to explain this stuff is that when we have a ridge, what would be airflow going this way, it's almost as if the hurricane is welcomed with open arms. But when we have a trough, see how this air is moving down and kind of coming along here. And I'll show you another way to view this. But I can tell that this is coming here. There's a trough going over the Gulf. There will be somewhat of a ridge, but this trough may just keep digging and pushing in over the Gulf. So because it's pushing this way, that's going to increase wind shear, not allow the storm to become major. Now, if we had this pushed over a little to the east, then we would end up with the ridge right here and the airflow going up over the Gulf, north over the Gulf, allowing the storm to move in. So I'll show you this in another way by examining the wind flow. Right here, I think maybe a little higher because some of that moisture was right up over North Dakota. So I'm going to go from the surface level here, and we'll scroll up in the atmosphere to the jet level first. And this is where you can very easily see there's a trough coming in. And so this was the main trough here, the long wave, with the very strong winds being the white. And on this right side, the exit region where we can usually find a lot of the severe weather. And in fact, that is where Bill, Tropical Storm Bill, is rotating right now. So yes, open arms. This is a ridge now on the right exit region of this jet. Whereas our invest near Central America is going to try to be moving into territory that has these winds pushing into it rather than pulling it up and making it stronger. So I'll play out the model here, this European, just to kind of give people an idea of what it's showing. And yeah, I kind of expect, I had not looked at these yet, but I expected that there'd be some digging of this trough. So now we have a tilt to it, and that can create kind of lingering effects downstream. Actually, this would be upstream, actually. So we are not expecting this to get strong. We, as in any other forecasters I know, they've all been indicating the models are saying it will not get strong, but these are the points where we're going to be seeing some bits of severe weather in the United States as early maybe as Wednesday, especially with some of that moisture coming in. But that would just be more so the beginning of it, not the full event. So Wednesday we could be having some of this cloud cover creeping into the southeast. We can see a little bit of this entire upper level trough that's here does have moisture associated with it at that same level, like that exit region I talked about. And some of that actually extends all the way down to the other invest here. And is, there we go, pushing up into Florida. So as it gets hot during the daytime over the next few days, in Florida and along the MAG states, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, you can expect to see a little more moisture because there is quite a bit of moisture out there already. So the severe storms can pop up, especially in the daytime. And then some of these more torrential downpours will end up pushing into Louisiana, possibly even Texas, as this low pressure system continues slowly moving north. So over the next, I'd say 5 to 7 days, I would be watching for some flash flood events anywhere along these states here, and then even as far as South and North Carolina, a little more locally. I would assume that it wouldn't be as widespread there, but here we go along the coast. We're already seeing some of that, just not quite as severe. They're ending up with yellows and oranges in that area, while it's a little brighter and more torrential over Florida. So be careful as you're driving if you need to hit the road or commute anywhere during these times when there's such active conditions. And look at all that lightning. That's a lot more than we saw last week because we had those solar storms. There are studies linking them together, and I've just seen this left and right over the last couple of years that they're so directly connected. And so, yeah, if you're going to be driving from Tallahassee to work or Jacksonville right now, it might be a nice time, or you need to run errands. Look at the radar first, zoom in on where you are, play it out, get an idea of where things are moving, and just make sure you're safe. You can always wait, 30, 40 minutes. Like perhaps you're in Perry and you see everything heading your way and you think, oh, maybe this little stronger cell might be passing over if you're heading up to Thomasville, let's say. You might just want to give it a moment to wait, or be aware of what's in front of you. And if you don't like driving in torrential downpours where you can't really see far, and you see the storm is getting closer and closer to you, you can pull over, get gas then. those are the kind of ways that I like to commute when I am dealing with severe weather, just to be on the safe side. And I mean, you can still catch beautiful views if you love the lightning shows. That's very plentiful today. It's going to remain that way. And then, in fact, since it's kind of new information that the solar storms are connected to lightning, it was researched that this lasts for about 40 days. And personally, I've seen a huge uptick in the first 7 days, and it kind of dwindles away with that ionization of the upper atmosphere, which is what's helping create this lightning. So be aware of all that extra lightning and more flash floods, not just today and not even just while the storm is overhead, but well in advance. So the actual low pressure is way down here outside of the radar zone for this particular product, but these will slowly be moving in and be affecting anywhere from, I would want to say, eastern Texas all the way through Florida up to North Carolina over the next week. So I'm happy this isn't going to be a huge, major, destructive storm, and it's almost a nice reminder for us to all be prepared. And a huge thing I like to bring up every year is that 90% of fatalities related to these storms occur in water. So it's not so much the high winds. A lot of times when those high winds are coming, people evacuate or they find a safe room that they're able to survive in. But that storm surge, those flash floods, or washed away roads are what the really, I guess, main contributor to fatalities are. So be aware of that and just avoid the flash floods and stay safe, please. I will go ahead and check if anybody has any questions and pull up this some analysis data here too. I think I would prefer another set actually, and it'll kind of help me see exactly how strong some of those storms will end up getting ahead of the invest or what might become a tropical storm before it actually ends up over land. And this is all past data that I'll be looking at, no model. So here we go. Here was a big one I wanted to see. This means there's so much moisture. That is a lot. So yes, as soon as that daytime heating occurs, you'll be seeing a lot of that torrential downpour like we saw just right now today. And then as this system moves more and more north, that'll get a little more inland. So heavy flash floods is what I have been shouting out. And I think that will be the biggest thing to watch out for, because with these high pressures at so many different levels in the atmosphere, centered just north of the storm, that does really indicate, again, that this is not going to be a strong hurricane. So flooding and lightning are what you want to watch out for from Texas through Florida up to North Carolina for the next week. I hope everybody can stay safe and enjoy the weather. And then now I will go ahead and play this satellite loop and just check the comments to see if anyone has questions, like I said. So I didn't not share this anywhere, and it's been a little while since I forecast. So I'm not sure if anybody's even watching right now, but I'll go ahead and check. And I'm at 0 right now. So I'll be getting back on track with hurricane forecasts as we see more and more of them. I'll go ahead and share this in some groups. If you want to find me on Facebook, you can as Weatherwoman Amy Metz. On TikTok, it's the same. I mostly populate Facebook and YouTube, so you can catch me here and message me on Facebook if you'd like to contact me. Have a great day and enjoy your weather.